At this point, there's one marble left here on this list. We've gone through 10 through 2, and this one has not appeared yet. So with that said, your number one marble right now in the Marble Survival 100 is... How's it going, everybody? We're rolling at you live with episode 8 here. We got the Week 11 recap, Week 12 preview.
On to Week 12.
How you feeling?
Week 12, top 10.
Top 10, massive week. We're going to be the highlight of this episode is going to be the power rankings. We're going to power rank each marble, who we think has the best chance to win this whole thing, and just who's racing the best right now.
Pretty crazy. We're down to 10.
Pretty insane. We're down to 10.
Pretty happy. My fourth racer I picked is in that top 10. Feels good to make it to another week.
Ever since you dropped those first 3, this one's been looking really good.
First 3 are gone, and now I'm all on the Limers and top 10. Same with your O-Rangers.
Yeah, somehow, some way, the O-Rangers are still finding a way to become literally the last marble safe in each of these weeks.
They don't ask how. They just ask if you're there.
Right. Tomorrow in the paper, it's just going to say that we advanced.
Top 10. That's what it's going to say.
And another note, just this is the final week of 7-day races. So the Week 12, the week we're entering right now, we'll cut the field down to 8, and then after that, it'll be every 4 days 2 marbles get eliminated.
Which should be unbelievable.
And we're still trying to figure out the scheduling, but we think we're going to probably bring you guys an episode every 4 days at that point.
Yeah,
just whenever.
Absolutely, maybe a little shorter in duration, but we'll bang them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right. Is there anywhere you want to start with last week's finishes? We can start with the races. We can start with the track. I mean, we usually start with the track, so we can go there.
Yeah, I mean, last week we talked about the track a lot. I thought overall, I believe we ranked it last week. I still thought the track was good.
Yeah.
Going through the whole week.
Yep.
A lot of obstacles, a lot of action, kind of, the type of track we like.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good week overall, track-wise.
I think so too. I think really the track came down to there was one portion of the track where I think you made it or break your week and your race. That one section where it converges, the ball bearings converge there as well. So there are those two somewhat half pipe ramps that bring you all the marbles together. And if you can get a good bounce off there, either off of another marble or off of a ball bearing, it can really either propel you forward or just sneak you through while the chaos goes on behind you.
Well, we saw some instances, and speaking for myself and the Limers, you can sneak through those obstacles and go from last to a top 5 finish.
Oh yeah.
And we saw it kind of later in the week on moving day, and even yesterday, some of those marbles in the back just kind of picked their spot, waited for the right time, and then snuck through those obstacles.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, it was a good track. It was, I think, we both gave it around 8s last week. I think that's probably where I'd keep it. It was a fine track. It was a good track. It was a fun track, but it wasn't like the likes of Week 10, which was the best track in history.
Correct. Yeah, I didn't love it, and I think last week we said the ending, we liked the dumpster at the end. I really didn't see that much of an effect. With the dumpster.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, if I'm nitpicking, that's one thing I really could have changed, if I had the option to. But overall, decent, pretty solid track.
Yeah. The only thing I want to say is you brought up the dumpster. It just made me remember something. The dumpster and the chaos tubes were right next to each other, and it just kind of made the viewing aspect of last week's track a little bit tough because you had white balls from the chaos tubes, white balls from the dumpster coming out. I couldn't even really tell where my marble was. It was just a big mess, and there were ball bearings mixed in too.
It was tough, and that's kind of the chaos we like, though. But at the same time, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Who got stuck in the chaos tubes? Was that
Jump?
Swax.
I don't even know how he got in there.
I mean, we kind of said it 2 weeks ago. Those aren't really a threat.
No.
We're kind of just there. But clearly they had an effect on last week's.
But I don't even think that's their intended threat, is for a marble to go inside of its innards.
It's stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That was wild. There were some DNFs that were a little tough. I mean, Jump definitely had a tough one on Monday. But, some of the DNFs were, I think the O-Rangers fell to one. They had some good effect. It was a big deal.
Can we talk about that DNF? I actually have a lot to say about that DNF. I'm happy we made it through. I can keep wearing the shirt. I'm still an O-Rangers guy.
Yeah.
But there was some, I thought, maybe potentially dirty action going by Mellow Yellow on that play.
Going after Yella.
No, I think Mellow Yellow was going after Mandarin.
No, I'm saying you're coming after Yella.
I'm coming after Yella right now. I have something to say to Yella right now. You're in first place. I don't care if we're both from the fruit circuit. Maybe we're rivals. Maybe we were wrong about the rivalry being dead. It seems like it's very much alive. I don't like what you're trying to do to Mandarin, to the O-Rangers, to that marble. Wow. I think you need to just race your own race. Don't bump me when the camera can't even get it there, because the camera was blocked at that point. They were trying to sneak it. I don't like that at all. And listen, O-Rangers got to be better. We got to be able to come off that obstacle. But I was hot watching that. I was hot.
I mean, I see what you mean. I know a lot of the O-Ranger fans probably coming after me for saying this, but you know what? I like how yellow races. I thought you do what you got to do to win. It's not always pretty. It's not always clean. But having said that, the O-Rangers got to help themselves. I think we can both agree on that. They got to be racing better.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But in 2024, we're still playing that dirty. You're telling me that we're going to bump another racer in the first minute of the track just eliminate them? Your circuit companion.
I mean, it's the name of the game, man. It's only one marble can win.
Is it the name of the game?
One marble can win.
Yeah, well, show it with your talents, not with your dirty play. That's the last thing I'll say on that. But yeah, O-Rangers, I mean, we'll just talk about them quick because it was a eventful week for them. Started off really hot with a second place finish and then went right back to their old ways of just giving heart attacks to their fans because they were towing the elimination line all week and then did enough in the last race with, I think that's a fourth place finish to end up getting through. But I don't know. Yeah, did you just the DNFs that are happening? There's been now 2 DNFs from the O-Rangers that are very memorable. The dumpster at the last second.
Oh yeah.
And now the half pipe at the very beginning.
I thought the DNF on Saturday was probably the most memorable one for me of the whole event.
Yeah.
I thought that. I mean, seeing you on Saturday after that race, you were distraught. I'm sure O-Ranger fans everywhere were in tears. There was puddles on the ground of tears.
It was truly.
Especially on moving day on a Saturday when you're fighting for positioning. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I thought, I hate to say it, but, that we really saw who belongs in that top 5. And when we do the power rankings, we're going to go over it.
Yeah.
Some of these racers came out and they were consistently just solid.
And we were just talking about it off air, but it seems clear there really is kind of a top 5.
There's a top
and then there's
group.
The rest right now.
And we definitely saw it this week. And I was kind of in your boat as a Limer fan. We were fighting for that 8th to 4th spot. We were all jumping around, us, the Bumblebees, the Raspberry Racers were in there, Purple Rockets. And we were fighting. It just felt like every race, you and me as O-Ranger and Limer fans, we were just fighting for just don't get eliminated.
Yeah, and we talked about the fruit circuit last week being just that. I mean, well, it's still awesome that they have now not half the field, almost half the field. 4 out of 10 marbles are from the fruit
fantastic.
circuit. It's awesome.
Yeah,
but it just looks like they're kind of hanging on, especially Limers and O-Rangers.
Clearly hanging on. I'm curious to see what happens this week.
Yep.
If they can bounce back. But if it goes a lot like last week, I think we already know who's going to be left on that top 5, top 3. It's scary. Some of these racers, and we'll talk about them soon here, they're scary. I don't see a world where Slime Lime, Mandarin, Swat, I don't see a world where they're beating them.
I agree.
We're going to talk about
like you said, I think everyone's excited to get to those power rankings, so we'll clean this up a little quicker. I just wanted to say, I think Jungle Jumpers still playing hurt. I think that probably showed. They came out with a DNF. That Crazy Chevron just has their name. They were rizzing up the Crazy Chevron the last couple weeks.
Certainly were.
But they bounced back with a first place finish, but then after that fell completely off.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because we should talk about the 2 teams eliminated, Diego and Jump. I agree with you. I just thought they had a great run. It's just they were done.
Yeah, they were done.
They were clearly done.
Overmatched by all the other racers too.
And again, we saw an instance, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. You need to start. You have a good start on Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
If you don't, and as we saw DNF on the first day,
yeah,
really hard to bounce back from that.
Puts you in a hole. No doubt.
So, Indigo Stars, another team, I think we both agreed last week, kind of an undercover team we really don't talk much about.
Yeah.
Diego is a good race. I have nothing bad to say about him, but, probably the right marble to get eliminated.
I think so. I was high on them for a couple weeks because they had some good finishes. They look good. And I don't know, something about the blue marbles. They just kind of, I feel like they roll really well. They look good on their rolls. But Indigo Stars, they just, I don't know. I think they're just too young, too a little bit unexperienced. This will be good for them. Listen, they made it to the top half. They almost made it to the top 10.
Absolutely.
It's a good result, I think, and a good season from them.
Good result. Nothing to be ashamed of. You should be proud if you're the fan of those 2 franchises. Yeah. And obviously, there's many more events to come.
Absolutely. And it's a little bit of a flash in the pan. Let's see if they can build on that momentum going forward.
Absolutely. So best of luck to them going forward.
And I think the last thing, unless you have anything else you want to touch on this week's track or racers, just this race 77 controversy that came up. We watched the race. We watched Sunday's race, and it was strange because they showed the shot of the marbles on the starting line, and then cut to when the ghost marbles coming down, and the order was different.
And you caught it right away.
I did,
because I think it was funny. Even before the cut, you said, "Oh, Mandarin's wherever he was in the middle." Or,
no, he was all the way at the
on
end.
The side, and then he cut, and you caught it right away.
Yeah, that was actually that's right. Normally I don't pay that close attention, but I just saw that he was on the end. And
I think it's easier too. Now we have 12 marbles, and now obviously 10.
Very true.
I mean, you're gonna find your marble really quickly.
Yes.
So, go ahead, though, not interrupt.
No, you're good. And then basically, so I think there was a lot of controversy on Reddit, on YouTube, just about like what's up with that, and there was just like a little bit of some strange cuts going in the beginning of the episode, but the rest of the episode seemed straightforward and fine. But Yella and the team did issue an announcement. Do you want to read the statement just in case people haven't heard about it?
Sure. Basically, I'm going to kind of sum it up here and without reading word for word. But basically, it was an error, by the team. Obviously, they have to post every day. They keep it all in a folder. Editing. There's a lot of stuff that goes into. So it was honestly just a mistake. Human error. It's nothing that affected the results of the race, and that's the most important part.
Exactly.
And obviously, you're going to get some fans, especially if your marble was eliminated or came in last, that are going to point to that,
are throwing some flags.
Conspiracy theories, whatever you want to call them. There was none of that going on, and that's kind of the main message of the announcement.
For sure.
It was a fair race. It was a mistake. I say cut them some slack. There's 100 races, and every day they're posting.
Absolutely,
it's human error. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, a big shout out just to those guys for doing all the work they do to bring us this amazing daily race. It's a ton of work, and it's obviously their passion. And also props to them for putting out an announcement like this. They could have just buried this; it would have been gone in a couple of days, but they owned up to it. And it's just refreshing to know that they're transparent like this, and that we still got the results that we got.
Absolutely, and they responded within, I don't know the exact time frame, but within 24 hours.
Yeah,
I mean, they had nothing to hide, and obviously, to quote them, for the sake of the argument, the race results and roster are correct, which doesn't affect the final results. I can't read today, but that's the key part. It didn't affect the final results, and it's all fair, and the results are what they were.
Absolutely, and so it's buried now. It's gone.
It's gone. It's over.
We cut them a break. It's over. The top 10 racers that are supposed to be there are there. So, with that said, I think we're good on last week's recap. I just want to do what we've been doing. Mellow Yellow. We'll give them their flowers. We'll do their little backstory quick. I'll make it quick because we want to get to the power rankings. I know I'm excited to get to those.
Absolutely.
But, Mellow Yellow, Team Mellow Yellow from Amalanta.
Can't say I've been there.
Yellow, Yella, Yelly, and Yellup are the original marbles. They actually met working in a soda factory, the Nondescript Soda Company. Very interesting. It took 10 years in the company for all of them to finally meet at a tasting, and they had a long night together and realized they actually hated their jobs and where their life was headed.
That's pretty relatable. I think everybody out there.
Well, we're lucky to do this podcast, but you're right.
No, just in general.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's probably a lot of people. And they decided to chase their dreams. They moved to Marbleopolis, which is known for its racing. Obviously, I mean, you can tell by the name of the city.
Absolutely.
Known for its racing, but they were struggling to make ends meet. Look, they worked 10 years in the soda factory. They were a little bit more veterans, like they were a little bit older people trying to chase this dream. I mean, I'll get to where they've made it. They've climbed the top of some serious accomplishments, but they were struggling at the beginning to make ends meet, and then finally they got their big break. Greg Woods invited them to the fruit circuit. You might be thinking they're not really necessarily a fruit, but it was determined that their previous soda, the soda company they worked at, was close enough to a fruit, so they were granted access, which was huge for them. They struggled early on, but they slowly got better. I mean, as we talked about, the fruit circuit is an elite group. If you want to get better, you play with elite competition, and that's what the fruit circuit is.
Absolutely.
So that really built them up, and then finally they got invited to Marble League 2016, and same thing, have just steadily increased and gotten better and better. And finally, they won the 2021 Marble League. They are a Marble League champion.
Talk about a story.
Story.
Coming from nothing, working your way up. Again, it's a good lesson to learn.
If you like rooting for blue collar teams, hardworking teams, scrappy teams who have a crazy underdog story, this could be a team for you. I mean, I'm not a fan because I just went on a rant against them, and that speaks to their blue collar mentality.
I kind of like it.
They work hard, and they're going to do whatever it takes to win, including knocking a rival into a half pipe and potentially costing them their season. But it's okay.
I mean, hey, it's a great story, and honestly, you can kind of see that story through the way Yellow races.
Yeah.
And credit to them, and credit to their fans. I mean, they got a great fan base.
Absolutely,
and a great story.
So yeah, with that said, that was one of my favorite stories we've done so far.
Absolutely. I would agree with that.
And I think it speaks a lot to the way they race,
100%,
where they come from.
100%.
But now let's jump in. Right before we do, we're about to do the power ranking. We're about to get there.
Sure.
So let's just talk about this track at the start of the week. Just initial thoughts. Do you have any initial thoughts?
Sure. I mean, we talked about it off air. I thought, it was a medium track. If I had to give it a ranking, it'd probably be in the 7 somewhere. 7 out of 10. some of the obstacles we saw, the clothespin snappers, the ball bearings, which obviously we love. The crazy chevron, I think, will be a big factor in this race. I think the bell carousel at the end will be a huge factor. I like the positioning of that. We talked about the dumpster being there last week. I love the bell carousel there. So again, nothing to write home about, nothing crazy about this track. But at the same time, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, it shows off the skills of the racers.
Yeah.
We're going to see less obstacles as we get, thinner here with the marbles. And we're going to see a little bit more action and more highlighting of, Mandarin, Slime Lime, all those racers. We want to see the skills.
Yeah, they really backloaded this track. I mean, there's not many obstacles that have that aren't very punishing early on, and then you get down to the end and you have the crazy chevron right back to back with the bell carousel. So we might see some pretty epic finishes. Some like with marbles getting caught up in those. Say like a marble's leading and they get caught up in that and end up coming in the back of the pack. That could be fun. Could be a fun wrinkle.
Yeah, not to interrupt you. I like that 1-2 punch there. The crazy chevron into the bell carousel. Like you said, you're winning the whole way.
Yeah.
And then you have to face those two obstacles to get through and get on the podium.
It's going to shake up a lot of things. It's going to have a lot to do with, I think, where these marbles are positioned going into that final leg.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, just sometimes when I watch those pawn fields, early on, like with all the different colored pawns, it kind of freaks me. Like those scare me a little bit because if you hit those at the right angle, you could DNF pretty easily. If you just hit that straight on, you've seen some marbles already when they've had those DNF. So
I mean, we saw it. We talked about it. The crazy chevron. I'm sorry, not the chaos tubes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have told you that a marble would get stuck in there and DNF.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think it only takes a good angle or a bad bounce. That's all it takes to DNF, which is terrifying.
Absolutely. But we did see no DNFs in this first race, which has been a common theme for a lot of this competition. But we'll wait and see going forward. I think if I'm giving this a track a rating, I'll give it a 6.5.
Good. I'm gonna go flat 7.
Okay, flat 7. So you still haven't beaten you in a rating yet, but we'll see as this develops, as this week develops, and we'll talk about it next week, how this track ended up playing out.
Absolutely. What do you think, just quickly before we go into power rankings, what about these results? We're filming this, obviously, Monday night. The first race happened. What do you think of the results? There's a little bit of, not confusion, but like I was surprised with some of the results. Some of these racers, I thought were going to stay hot and consistently be good, and then we kind of saw them maybe fatigue. I don't know what it was.
Thunderbolts are in a position that we haven't really seen them many times this season, where they're going to be coming from the back.
Yep.
And that's it's something to look out for. Like that, we don't know if they can make a comeback. They've always been more of a let's get out hot and coast kind of team, and to see them where they're at now at the bottom of the leaderboard is a little scary.
What do you think about your O Rangers?
Listen, well, we'll talk about it more on the power rankings, but I just have no faith. It's been weeks now that I've had no faith. They've just been skating by elimination almost every single week like clockwork, and it's just. I said it last week. I'm not going to get crazy invested right now because there's just some marbles that look so much better than them. They just don't really look like they have what it takes. It might take a serious coaching job to get them even onto the next round.
I would agree, and I think that's a good, parlays us into the power rankings, which I'm sure are much anticipated.
Should we rip it?
Let's go.
Right,
I'm excited.
So what we did is we each made our top 10, and then we just averaged the positions together. So we now have our conjoined power rankings. I will say most of our picks were pretty in line.
I think there was only about 2 racers that had a discrepancy more than like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think we agreed on a lot.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely start at 10 and go up to 1 because we don't want to spoil the number 1 team right now. But
agreed.
So we're going to do the power rankings. Then we'll also give our championship picks, which is exciting. I'm excited to hear yours, and I'm excited to give mine.
Absolutely. We're top 10 here.
We're top
10. So we're getting down to it.
So at the 10 spot, I'll take the first one. You can take the second one.
Sure.
This was tough. I just want to preface this by saying this was tough. All these marbles have done an amazing job to get here. It's incredible. These are talented marbles.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. I'm sure people are going to hear this and not be happy where we put their marble.
Right.
Like you said, let it be known. You're in the top 10.
You
made it to this point. It's remarkable. And honestly, you might want your racer to be in our 10, 9, or 8 spot just because my takes have tended to be terrible.
Yeah.
So maybe you like, a little underdog story. If you're, that more mellow yellow mentality of blue collar, grind it out.
Yeah.
So these are our opinions on what we've seen. We'd love to hear yours though.
Yeah, and it could be you against the world. Like if so, we'll start here. Purple Rockets, the 10th team. Listen, they've had great weeks. I do believe they've actually had a first place finish in the last 11 weeks of races, but they're just too young of a team, too unproven. They seem to have too much inconsistency with them.
I would agree, and I just pulled up, last week's results here, and they had some good finishes. If I'm not
that's a roller
mistaken,
coaster.
Yeah, they've had some good finishes though. Second place, first place. But like you said, roller coaster. Then they show up and they don't show up.
Yeah,
And they
2,
come in
13,
last.
9,
Or
15, 2, 9, 2. It's just they were in a great position midweek to potentially win the week, but fell off at the end. So I don't know. I just don't have confidence in them. I think that's really what a lot of these picks boil down to.
I would agree. Now looking, obviously we made this list before today's results, but great start for them, third place. It'll be interesting to see, race 2, race 3. Do they come out and stay on that trend and podium or top 5 finish?
Yeah.
Or do they just revert back to their old ways and come in last or DNF?
Right.
And that's going to be the backbreaker for them.
Right.
If they can be consistent.
100% agree. All right, let's move on to 9.
To 9, I'm really becoming an enemy in your camp here and all the fans watching.
Yeah.
The O'Rangers. Again, I am not an O'Rangers hater. I think you need to look in the mirror and really, if you're an O'Rangers fan, and you really need to be honest with yourself, this team has not raced well. Mandarin has been all over the place. If you're a true fan and you're a realist, you could see that. I mean, they have potential to be great, but it's just up and down. Classic O'Rangers. This whole event.
I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, but like we did make top 10, which is in itself a miracle, in my opinion. So I'm happy with how the season went already. Everything to come is just house money. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just we're not a good looking marble if you look at the rest of the competition. It's just not a great team. And in fact, on my personal rankings, I had them at 10. Purple Rockets. They're both is kind of 1 and 2 for me, or 10 and 9 for me. But
yeah, I mean it's crazy because they are 9 and ahead of the Limers, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
Or behind the Limers. Because I really haven't thought the Limers have raced well at all. But I just watching Mandarin, especially watching them today.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's got to be tough being an O'Rangers fan because every day is a battle.
I couldn't agree anymore. Let's move on to number 8. There we got the aforementioned Limers. It was tough. I think we both were pretty in agreement that they belonged in this spot. They've looked really good the last few weeks. They've looked clutch. They've pulled out good races when they've needed them, but I'm just a little bit worried about some of their finishes in the bottom of the table. And just when you look at the rest of these marbles, I just don't know if they hold up.
I would agree. I think watching them, especially, pointing at last week, we got lucky.
Yeah.
Even if you watch the race today, we were in last the whole entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow we danced through that bell carousel, finished in 5. But I have no confidence. I just think luck has played a factor in this. And I like O'Ranger fans. I'm happy to be in the top 10. I think we're lucky to be in the top 10. So that's enough said. I mean, I think, unfortunately, we're just going to have to squeeze by and hope we can hang around.
Yeah.
Hang around.
You want to rip 7?
Number 7, Raspberry Racers. Resi. Let's talk about Resi because this is one where we ended up putting them at 7. I think we both looked at each other and said, man, how are they 7?
Yeah, exactly.
Resi's raced so well. We saw it today with a second place finish. It just goes back to there's so many good racers, so many good marbles in this top 10.
And you know what I think it is something we touched on a couple episodes ago. They have yet to podium in this entire Marble Survival 100. So that worries me a little bit.
But as fans could argue, you don't want to podium.
I know, and that's where the tough argument is. But I just think you have to prove it at some point that you can. And they haven't done that yet. They've been mid-pack, sometimes mid-bottom, sometimes mid-top. They've looked good.
Yeah.
They've almost flew so far under the radar. They're still flying under the radar with 10 marbles left. So I'm just, like you said, 7 is a tough spot. But when you look up the list, it's just a lot of really good racers.
A lot of good racers. I think, for you Raspberry Racer fans out there, I think it's an undercover marble that could make a run.
100%.
I would not be shocked if they just made a run right to the top.
It's kind of where the question mark is, because are they racing conservatively to save energy and just sneak by, or are they just not capable of getting to those top spots right now?
That's a good question. And that will make or break their
And that's what it is, exactly.
Yeah. Number 6.
Is it me? Am I 6?
That's you.
Chocolatiers. A team we've talked about kind of with the Raspberry Racers this entire time. It's a team that has raced similarly to Raspberry Racers. I think the one reason we put them over top them is because their recent success. They just podiumed 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
They had a top 5 finish last week. So the Chocolatiers, I think more so are above the Raspberry Racers just because of where they're at currently, not so much the past.
I agree. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think 3 weeks ago they were really on the brink of elimination. They've been fighting a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think every marble is going to go through that, through this 100 races. Bon's been racing well. He surprised me because you know what? After I think it was week 8 or week 9, I didn't really have much confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing him kind of on the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
But he's raced well, and I think he deserves to be in the 6th spot.
Okay, I agree. You're 5, yeah.
Number 5. This is kind of where we had problems here.
We did.
We differed on this. Bumblebees are in at number 5. I was a big Swax fan last week.
Yeah.
I still am, but very concerned.
Yeah.
And I'll let it be known. I put him lower than 5.
Yep. I put him higher.
Yeah. So I put him at the 6 or 7 spot.
Yeah. I had him at
Russ put him at
3-ish.
Yeah. So we differed on this. I still have some belief and confidence in Swax, but Bumblebee fans everywhere, you have to be concerned about the results.
You got to be concerned. It's always concerning to see that it's a reserve runner. It's a reserve racer. Swax is their reserve. So a bit of a rookie, a little bit underproven, trying to make a name for himself. But we did talk about him last week. He's so dangerous. He's podiumed. He's tied for the most podiums in this entire event. Yep. He's raced really well, but you got to think maybe are all those podiums because he's a reserve, because he doesn't necessarily know the strategy of taking it easy. He's just pushing himself too hard. And we saw last week he was in an elimination spot for 5 out of the 7 days.
Yeah, and then on Sunday he shows up and comes in first.
Which is, I think, why I'm so in on him.
Is he picking his spots?
I think he's either picking his spots or he just shows up when he needs to. He had a down week, but he showed up when he needed to.
Just for me, it's a little too scary. I mean, he showed up barely on Sunday. He showed up when he needed to.
No, you're right.
It's a little scary, but I think he deserves 5. You can make an argument he's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
He's dangerous, like you said. He's a dangerous marble. I just hope he has enough in him to win this competition.
Yeah. Okay. I'm 4. Yeah.
Number 4.
4. We got Mellow Yellow, the highest of the Fruit Circuit marbles on our list. Had a really, really good mid-season. I think it was like week 5, 6, 7. Really good. Last week, obviously the first place. I think that weighs heavily on our decision.
Yep.
Just it's like, what have you done for me lately?
Absolutely.
He's done really well for us lately in the last couple weeks. And I don't know. He looks good. He looks the blue collar, scrappy mentality. I don't see him getting eliminated soon.
I love it. I think for me, the reason why I think we both value the recency of the races is just because it's getting harder each week. I mean, we're down to 10 marbles, 8 next week. Yep. Like, you really need to battle to be in that top 3.
Yeah.
And Yella did it last week. I thought he raced really well. 2 first place finishes. Showed some physicality against the O'Rangers there during the week.
Sure did.
Which pissed off some people. But I feel confident in him at 4. I think after hearing that story, I'm rooting for him.
Yeah,
I
kind of am too. Sure. I love doing these stories because I feel like it
brings you a little connected,
a little
more
closer with the marble. Yeah. You want to go 3?
Number 3, and this marble I argued to be a little bit higher. Team Primary.
Yeah,
I love the way Team Primary is racing. As a Limer fan, they terrify me.
Yeah, they're a little scary. They're a handsome marble. They look great. They got the captain leadership in Arup. Obviously came in first on Monday, so things are just looking up for them. They had a really good week last week with the 4th place finish. They've had a handful of couple podiums back in this whole event. I don't know. I agree.
2 Mondays in a row they've come in first. Last week they started off hot, came in first.
Good nugget.
Obviously today they came in first. They scare me. Arup scares me. I think they raced really well. I think they're a team that deserves to be in that top 3, and they're kind of the juggernauts, the big fish of the group. I think they're one of them.
Okay, I know, I agree. I mean, top 3, absolutely. We'll move on to number 2 here. Thunderbolts. They just have looked really good almost every single week. Like,
absolutely,
they haven't scared elimination a lot. Obviously, this Monday's race they came in last, so we talked about like how are they going to dig out of this.
Yeah,
that's going to be a big point. I'm a little nervous now that we have them at 2 because if they get eliminated this week, it's not a great look. But if you look at their past results, even last week, like they're a good marble. They came in second last week. They've got a handful of podiums, many top 5s. They look great.
Yeah, I mean they're on the podium 4 times last week.
Yeah,
4 times. A 2nd place finish with 3 3rd place finishes.
Wow.
Shock's been racing really well. They scare me. Obviously, it's tough after today's results, but you know what? I still have confidence they're going to be in that top group. Again, another marble that I think will be there at the end.
Absolutely,
I really do. For number 1, go ahead. But I simply cannot do number 1, so I'm going to give it to you.
I guess number 1. Oh yeah, okay, I will.
I cannot. Everyone should know it, and I will. I refuse to speak on number 1. So you're going to.
At this point, there's one marble left here on this list. We've gone through 10 through 2, and this one has not appeared yet. So with that said, your number 1 marble right now in the Marbles Survival 100 is C and the Oceanics. You want to keep going?
No, go ahead.
It's going to destroy you.
I have no words right now, so go.
Just looked unbelievable. Looked extremely hard to beat. Like I believe 3 or 4 podiums now in this Marbles Survival 100. Another 4th or 5th place finish on Monday. It's just I have no fear that this marble is going to be competing. to the bitter end.
I mean, I have fear that he's going to dominate everyone in the races. I think the C and the Oceanic team clipped me talking bad about him, and I think that's been playing in the locker room nonstop.
Yeah,
because since I started talking bad about the Oceanics and C's leadership,
it's been a freight train.
And clearly that they're using my words as motivation.
Yeah,
I'm going to stick with it. I still think he's a bad leader, and I'm rooting against them actively. To say they don't scare me would be a lie, because they look good. They deserve to be number one. It pains me to say that out loud, but just know, see, your day will come. Your day will come. I don't believe in them, and you know what? I'm not rooting for them one bit.
So. That's fair enough. I think everyone is very clear on that.
It's clear. I just gave the locker room more motivation right there.
Yeah. I just don't know how they're going to get stopped, because with some of these racers, I think they're a top 5 lock for me, like just in this competition, because Purple Rockets, O'Rangers, those are 2 teams that they're definitely coming in over. And I don't know,
Limers too.
Chocolatiers, Limers also don't necessarily.
They don't scare me.
Yeah. I think the Oceanics are going to walk to that final week.
I think our top 3, Primary, Thunderbolts, and Oceanics, deserve to be there, and they're scary.
Yeah.
They're definitely the scariest teams out there.
100%. The rest of the team should want to see them go as soon as possible.
I would agree. If you're a fan of the other teams, O'Ranger fan, Limer fans everywhere, Chocolatier fans, you're hoping that C.
Yeah, maybe
go somewhere else.
You never want to wish for injury. I'm not even going to say that, but just that's like seems like it might be the only thing that could stop them at this point.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
Okay, so that was the power rankings. I thought that was a blast. I think we'll probably do these again for the top 5, maybe the top 6, whenever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whenever, we feel like it. So do you want to? But before we sign off, we're just going to do now our championship preview. We're going to do the team that's going to win and who they're going to beat in that final race. Do you want to lead it off?
Sure. Just to be clear, we haven't told each other.
No.
So this should be interesting. Obviously, we collaborated on the top 10. For me, and I kind of talked about it in the top 10, the power rankings, Primary is going to be the winner. I think Arup is racing phenomenal. I think he's the type of leader that belongs to be a champion.
Yeah.
And a team we mentioned, we didn't put them that high up in the rankings. Team Primary is going to beat the Raspberry Racers. I think Rezzy's going to get there. He's going to get to that final. Again, I said undercover marble. I think he gets there. I think he's a leg short. I think he just comes up really short.
Yeah.
But I expect him to make a great effort and get in that top 2. So
that's a cool
team Primary fans everywhere. You should love me.
That's a fun pick. My pick is also Team Primary.
Wow.
As the winner.
Wow.
And they're gonna go over the Oceanics. The Oceanics gonna make you sweat it out to the bitter end.
Oh, man.
And you're gonna get your happiness in that final, though.
I would love to see him in tears after.
So wow, we both have Primary. So I mean, a winning marble on Monday is looking like it might be another strong week for him.
It's a good formula. We might change our name to our podcast, a Primary Podcast. All you fans out there.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our championship picks right now. We are subject to change them whenever we like.
Absolutely. And honestly, maybe the Primary fans everywhere aren't happy to hear it.
Maybe not.
I tend to be a mush, and
maybe
I tend
not.
to ruin. Obviously the Oceanics have battled through my words. So
yeah,
we'll see.
We just want to give one shout out before we sign off to
Lisa
in the comments. Some unbelievable stats here. I'll put them up on the YouTube screen, but it's just a lot. It's a ton of information. Lisa might be a math teacher.
She must be, and it kind of blew up my brain because some of the numbers and stats she whipped out are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like Russ said, we'll put them up on the screen. I urge you, go read the comments, go check out the Reddit. There's some great stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have time to shout out everybody, but some of the stats we get, some of the results, it's all from you guys commenting, and we love it. So keep it up. And obviously, comment what you want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep giving us feedback. Still trying to improve one thing every time. Hopefully we kept the mics close to our mouth again.
Hope so.
But
I'll hear about it if not.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely go check out Lisa's comment about Yella's great run so far this week and just in the whole MS 100 itself. But yeah, give us some comments. Keep giving us feedback. Keep liking. Maybe subscribe. Are you good?
We're good. I thought this episode was great. I thought top 10.
Top 10 fun.
What's better than this?
Top 10. This is what we've been waiting for.
And I can't wait to kind of maybe 2 weeks from now look at those power rankings and be like, wow, we were wrong, or wow, we're really right.
Or wow, this is why we're at this desk.
As C is eliminated. So that'd be awesome.
All right. We're rolling out. We'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.